46% on cold Facebook traffic, 50, 59, even 69% on YouTube. If you want to secure high converting landing pages like these for your own offers and funnels, this is the simple 4-part framework to copy for yourself. Hey, I'm Jason, faith-based entrepreneur and marketing geek. Timestamps below, along with some other helpful links and resources, including a link to our copy publish landing page template and playbook so you can get up and converting in the next few hours. Now, even though the point and goal of our landing page is to collect contact information, simply having a page saying, hey, give me your email so I can sell you some stuff later, probably isn't going to work too well, right? That's going to be a really low converting landing page, unless people just enter fake emails. So what we need to do is use a proven persuasion framework to essentially tell people why they should opt in and, of course, offer them a tangible reason. And so with that, we're going to use something called the AIDA framework. It stands for attention, interest, desire, and action. And we'll start things off with attention at the very top. This is going to be our headline. It could be our pre or post headline as well if you want to get fancy. But essentially, we want to let people know when they hit our landing page, you're in the right place. And the headline is going to promise a result, so something that they want to achieve. And then it's also going to talk about something that they want to overcome. So it's going to say, hey, you can get this result and we're going to help you sidestep this roadblock, or we're going to help you break this roadblock. We can go through details of copywriting later, but that's essentially what we want to do with the headline. And then, since most people aren't going to opt in by just reading the headline alone, we need to create some interest around what we're offering. And that's going to be interest around, of course, our lead magnet, which is what powers this entire page. So link in the cards in the description to a full-blown video that goes through all different lead magnet ideas, right? But without a lead magnet idea, this persuasion framework kind of falls apart because we need a reason for people to opt in. And that's what the lead magnet does. And so we're going to have 3 or 5 bullet points that talk about how the lead magnet is going to help them achieve the results that they want and break through or avoid the roadblocks that are in their way of getting the result that they want. And of course, we do 3 or 5 because apparently studies of human psychology and lots of conversion rate testing has shown that odd number of bullet points seem to convert better. So I'm not sure why, but go ahead and do 3 or 5 bullet points. You really don't need more than that. So that's all there is to it, creating some interest. Then we're going to build some desire. And the best way to do this is to show some media appearances to build up some credibility. And then, of course, have testimonials from other people who've used this lead magnet or worked with you in the past and have achieved results that your ideal customer cares about. Now, of course, at this point, most of us go, well, I haven't paid a giant media company hundreds of thousands of dollars to be featured, and I don't have testimonials because I'm just getting started. So what the heck do I do? Great question. You can just quote yourself. I know it sounds silly, but 99% of our landing pages, I just add a quote to myself. I really should collect some testimonials. The only time we actually make an effort with testimonials is when we are doing paid traffic. So that would be the only time I'd say really get some testimonials there. But if you're doing anything organic or social, quoting yourself is probably going to work just fine. And then finally, we need to drive some action. This is where the rubber meets the road. And this is the whole point of this page, right? To collect that contact information. Now, as a general rule, the more information you ask for, the lower your conversion rates are going to be, right? So at bare minimum, just ask for the email. And at bare maximum, please just ask for the email. Unless you really need some other information, or you are just a conversion savant and you get so many leads, you need to start filtering them out at the beginning of your sales process. Then you could ask for more information. Please don't go copy some big corporations form you saw where they ask you like 21 questions, right? That's not what you need to do here. So just grab that email and let people know they should enter their email here, make the button really clear that this is where you enter your email so you can get this awesome lead magnet that we are offering. And so that's all there is to it, to the AIDA framework. And that's as complex as your landing page needs to be to enjoy high conversion rates. All right, now that we've got all of the elements down, it's time to actually start building our landing page. So again, timestamps below to skip around, and I'll leave a link in the cards in the description to a full-blown copywriting guide to help you with the copywriting for your landing page, as well as the rest of your funnel. Now let's jump into Systemi here. I already have the template loaded up here and I'm on landing page. If you ever want to make a new landing page, you can just go ahead and click on add step like you would for any other page and select squeeze page. And so Systemi calls landing pages squeeze pages here. And then if you don't like our template for whatever reason, you can see they have a lot of other templates to choose from. And the conversion frameworks we like to use and kind of everything we're going to go through next applies to all of the different templates, right? And all of the different pages you would build inside Systemi as well. So I'll go ahead and remove this, confirm, and then we'll go ahead and click on Edit Page to jump into editing our landing page here. So it's a really simple editor. There's lots of drag and drop. There's lots of options here too if you want to get overly advanced. So let's go ahead and start with the settings. So I'm going to kind of go top from to bottom here. And the first thing that I like to do in any page builder is set up my fonts. So you can see here, you can set your default fonts. They have quite a list. And you can set your default font for your body copy. So this would be like what our font is going to be for these bullet points. And then you can also set a default font for your headlines or headings. And so this way you set it one time, you choose your colors and your typography and all that, and then you're done. Like anything else you add to the page after this, we'll use your default settings here. So I've clicked on settings for that. And something I didn't appreciate until relatively recently when we were testing out some other funnel builders, go high level, for instance, is when you go to custom fonts, you can actually upload your font file directly here. You don't have to deal with any custom CSS, and your font will actually apply to everything on the page. So if you want custom fonts, this is something you should definitely try out after you have a couple of funnels, because it's an easy way to make sure your pages don't look like everyone else's. You can just upload it here and you don't have to deal with CSS, and it actually applies to all of the elements on the page. So let's go ahead and I'll just go back to Google Fonts for now, and we'll scroll down here. Of course, you can change the background color, upload a background image. I like to keep things simple and white. They have some SEO information. That's not going to matter for this page. Just skip it. And then, of course, we have our oh so important tracking. So if you're doing anything with paid ads, here's your header and footer places. They don't have the opening of the body tag. So most of your tracking codes is probably just going to go in the bottom of the header. And if you're like, what the heck does that mean? Don't worry. When you start running paid traffic, because your business will grow, then you'll care. So the last thing here is if you decide to upgrade, you will have the option of turning off the affiliate badge. So that's that little badge right here. What is cool though, is when you sign up, you're automatically enrolled in the affiliate program. So if anyone does click it while you're using the free plan, you will, or you should receive a commission, unlike some of the other ones that just take the money and leave the badge there. So I'll go ahead and leave it there since this is a demo. And then now let's go ahead and talk about how we organize everything on the page. So if I go ahead and hide this, here's our page. And so here's a quick little graphic to help us understand the organization. Of course, I clicked. So we start with sections. So as we come down here, everything is in a section. And then we add rows to those sections to organize the elements that are inside the rows. Now, technically, you could have a row inside of a row, inside of a row, inside of a row, and then it's like Inception is super confusing, and it's just open to interpretation as to what the ending actually meant, right? Okay, just kidding. Little sore about that. Anyway, jumping back in here, I'm going to go ahead and click on Bulleted List. If you ever get lost, there is a really easy way to figure out where you are. So you just click on the element you want, and then you can click on row, and you can see the row it is, and then you click on section, and you can see what section it is. So that's kind of how things are organized. Now with our rows, of course, we can click and drag to change how much one row takes up versus another. You can also change the alignment of things. So if I come over here, you can tell sometimes it's a little hard to get at the actual element you want. Here we go. I'm almost there. I made it. So you can see here, I can change the alignment. So I can say I want things centered, I want things at the bottom, or I want things at the top. I'll leave it at the top for now. And you can always add more rows and columns and sections by coming down to column layout. You can add a section, you can add up to 4 columns, or you could go ahead and add a row. And so rows and columns are technically just the same thing. It's just a row is one column. It wouldn't make sense to say one column, so they call it a row, right? How many times am I going to say row? Let's move on. Let's go up here. Before we get into all of the fun elements that we can play with, let's go ahead and click on blocks. They do have some things pre-formatted for you, and you actually have the ability to save your sections. So I'll get to that in a moment, but let's go ahead and click on Optin forms here. You can see they have a couple of sections that are pre-formatted. So all you have to do is click and it will pop into your design, and then you can move it up and down however you see fit. One of the blocks that I really like playing with is testimonials, because once you have testimonials, they definitely should be on your landing page and your sales page. And I guess those are it. You don't really put testimonials on upsell pages most of the time. And then you also have this section called My Blocks, where you can actually save your previous designs. And so you can see here, we have a guarantee block that we always put on our sales pages, and we have an order bump design that we always put on our sales pages. And so we save this once, and anytime we're building another page that we need it, we just come over here, and I could say click, and then our design is dropped in here. And then we could go ahead and edit it. So I'm going to undo that because I do not want an order bump on our landing page. Now, speaking of editing, there's no autosave. So please remember to come up here every once in a while and click on Save Changes. You do have the redo and undo, but like the old days, you gotta click Save on that Word doc, right? So let's go ahead and jump over to elements now and talk about how we can add them. So let's say, for example, I want to add a new headline. So I can go ahead and click this text box, and you can see it starts highlighting where I can put it. So I can put it inside, like if I wanted to put it on top of the bullet points, I could put it here. I could put it on top of the image block we have here, or I could put it in between two sections, or I could put it inside of this row. So I'm going to put it right on top here. And so if I click on it, you'll see that it added it to a row that already existed. And then of course I can highlight the text and make all the changes that I want. Now, something to note when it comes to your spacing, it can get really confusing because you can have spacing at the section and the row and the element level. It can get really confusing. So for me, I like doing all of my spacing with the element, because then that way I know if something's not right, I just go to the element. So as an example, I've clicked on my new text here. Let's say this is a pre-headline. I'll go ahead and highlight and change the text color to a gray, and let's just italicize it. So I've got my little pre-headline here, and I want to change the spacing. So I can come over here, and the first thing I can do is change the margin. And so I'll click on this so I can change the bottom margin. So I can click, and I can make it big, or I can actually go negative. So if you want to go negative, you'll just start pushing down like this, and you'll see that the text will actually go on top of the element that's below it. And so I'll go ahead and put it back to 0. Or if I wanted to add some margin to the top, that's what I could do here. Or you'll notice here that this headline is kind of centered. And so what I can do is I can click on the text, and then I can come over to our padding, and I could change the padding this way, and then I could change the padding this way. And then now, if I start making more text, you'll see that it won't go all the way. Like this is a giant padding here. So if I take this padding away, all of a sudden it starts going back to full width. And so this is how you want to center elements on your page, because this is going to be responsive, right? When someone goes to mobile, we need it to still be in the center. If I went ahead and hit, enter here, that's going to show up really funny on mobile. So you don't want to do that. All right, that's a little distracting. Let's just go ahead and remove that altogether. And the only other page note that is really important is when you are creating your sections. So if I come to section here, you see I've selected my section. I'll come over here to the settings. If my computer will unfreeze, there we go. And you'll see here that you can tell it if it should show up on mobile, desktop, or both. So if I uncheck mobile, you'll see all of a sudden it says desktop only. So if I go to my mobile preview here, all of a sudden the headline's gone. If I come back to desktop and I say, no, I do want this on mobile, and I come back, now it is here. So once you're done building your page, always come to the mobile preview, and you can go ahead and change the margins and the padding and the spacing, and Systemi will keep track of both. So they'll have your mobile version and you'll have your desktop version as well. The only other thing to note here is with your sections, we'll come down here, you'll see size and position. You can actually change the width. So if you want elements to go all the way full page, or you just want to have them be wide, medium, or small. So for example, if I clicked extra small, you can see everything in this section is going to be squished together. For the most part, with your sections, just go ahead and leave them wide and you'll be okay. So I'll go ahead and save my changes just in case I mess something up. And finally, if you want to save anything for use on future pages, you just go ahead and select the section that you want to save, and you can click this little save icon, and it will show you a preview of what the section will be saved. You can go ahead and give it a name. You can also create master blocks. That's a whole another thing where like multiple blocks are connected across multiple pages. So I'll go ahead and exit that out. And with that, you are all set and ready to start designing inside of Systemi, whether you're working on your landing page or any page for that matter. So let's go ahead and dive into building our landing page. Let's start with our headline. That's grabbing attention right at the top. We need a headline that clearly and quickly communicates the benefits of whatever our lead magnet offer is for our landing page. So here's the formula I like to start off using. And of course, you can use lots of other formulas, but this is a go-to one for me. So how to result in the next time frame, and then we say without roadblock. And so this is a really quick and easy headline to promise a result and then remove or break a roadblock, and then add that little extra persuasion by saying, hey, by the way, it's way closer than you think, right? Which is also an important part of the lead magnet psychology. We're giving them a really quick win, but we'll leave that for when you're figuring out what your lead magnet should be. So as moving on with this example here, the first thing we would do is just make a list of results or things people can enjoy or accomplish as a result of downloading your lead magnet. So let's say I'm a Facebook ads agency. I always use this example now. And so I would just make a list of results that they might get by downloading our lead magnet. And then I'd make a list of roadblocks. So these are things that our ideal customer thinks is getting in the way of enjoying those list of results that we listed out. And then for the time frame, it's probably going to be in minutes or hours. Obviously, you don't want to say over the next 90 days for a free offer. That's just too long to see value. And depending upon the type of funnel setup you have, you need someone to get value out of the lead magnet now so that they're ready to purchase in the next 15 minutes or even the next couple of days. So more on that in copywriting tutorials linked up in the cards in the description. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to, for time purposes, jump over to one of our paid offers here. Then I'll come over to our page here. I'll go ahead and hold Command-Shift-V on Mac or Control-Shift-V on Windows so that I keep the formatting of where I'm pasting. So if I were to just Control-V, this is what it would look like. I'd lose the blue color. And then I'll go ahead and click bold. And then I'll make sure that there is no spacing here. So again, you don't want to manually click enter on anything. And so this is what the headline looks like with the current margin settings and padding settings that I have. Well, that doesn't look too great. I like having things kind of a reverse pyramid. So to match what I have in my template here, that's part of a paid offer, you can learn more about that in the description below to help with your copywriting and leverage AI. What I'll go ahead and do here is I will come over to margin, and I'm going to remove the margin that I have. And honestly, I would play around with this a lot more because I want the headline to look like this. And so there are two things I would do. I would just cheat and I would hit enter because I think no desktop screen size is going to be so small that it's going to mess this up. But I also need to come over to mobile, and you'll see because I've hit enter, it does not look good on mobile. I want to take it back here, and then of course I go to desktop, and it doesn't look right again. And so this is kind of like one of the downsides of manually hitting enter, because when you manually hit enter, you're just going to end up being this endless loop. Like I want it to look this way, and then I want it to look, this way, or I want it to look this way. So what you'll have to do is play around with margin. And so we'd come down here, I'd click on margin, and then I'd start, putting in like 100 one direction and then 100 the other direction, and trying to figure out if there's a way I can get it where I like the way the text looks. Now, for time purposes, I'm not going to drag us through that. I'm just going to leave it with no margin whatsoever and let it just sit, let spend just awkwardly sit there. Because as much as I want to hit enter to make it look better, if I do that on mobile, which is where most of our traffic's going to be coming from, it's not going to look all that great. So we'll go ahead and leave that alone. So that does it for our setting up our headline. Now, next we have, of course, building some interest in what we have to offer. So we have a picture of our lead magnet and we have our bullet points. So let's go ahead and start off with our lead magnet. Now, this is something we made in the free version of Canva. And so that's where we make most of our lead magnet images. They have these 3D mockups now too. So you can make it nice and professional. It's really easy to make. So once you have your lead magnet image, we can go ahead and click on media here. I could click and drag it in. And then of course you can upload a file. You could go to your images. I'll go ahead and select our lead magnet image here. Click on insert. So now we have 2. Now when it comes to the image options, you can of course go ahead and change the image size. And let's say if we change the image size, we could change the alignment of where it shows up. So maybe we want it over here for some reason. Now something else that's really cool is you can go ahead and add a blur effect to the image. So if you have like a preview of a video or something, or you're trying to build some curiosity, you could go ahead and blur the image a little bit. If you are offering a lead magnet that's a template, a report, a resource guide, some sort of text-based lead magnet, just actually show what it looks like, right? But maybe you have a video and there's some cool graphic or diagram in it, and you've done a screenshot for your lead magnet image, then you could go ahead and, oh, I clicked out there. You go ahead and add a slight blur to it, right? So it kind of adds a little bit of intrigue or mystery. You also have the option to play with shadows, but I find that most of them don't work out too well, even though this is a PNG, file. So I'll go ahead and just have no shadow whatsoever. And of course we can change it. So I can say this is not available on mobile. And then if we go to the mobile preview, you only see the one lead magnet. So I'll jump back over here and I'll go ahead and delete that and leave that alone. So now let's talk about our bullet points. Now, of course, this could be a video in and of itself. So let's just go ahead and jump into one bullet point example so you can kind of see how this would play out. And I'll go ahead and start with number 2. Now remember, the whole point of our bullet points, whether we're using 3 or 5, odd numbers work best because human psychology and reasons. So for our 3 bullet points here, number 2, we always want to make sure that we are focused on what our customers are struggling with and what they care about, not talking about how awesome our lead magnet is, right? So we don't want to just list out a bunch of features. So here's an example on how to make sure that we can talk about our lead magnet, but we always connect it back to something our ideal customer cares about. So I don't know what that meant. That was like supposed to be a loop or something. It didn't work out. Anyway, all right, pretty graphic to distract from my awkward hand symbols. So here we go. Peek behind the curtain at our power word mechanism so you can result. I'll rapid fire through this so we don't turn this into a copywriting class here. So then, of course, we would start by brainstorming some power words. Here's some basic ones, things like new, ultimate, secret, best performing, proven, and then mechanisms are a descriptor of our lead magnet. So it's like a piece, or we're giving a name to something in our lead magnet. So this is like a strategy or a framework or a method. So we're saying campaign structures to quickly communicate. They're going to know how to organize their campaigns. And then, of course, we're going to make a list of results that they want. This could be the exact same list of results that you made for your headline, right? You can just pull a different result. So in this particular instance, it could be copy them for yourself, double your return on ad spend, maximize your ad spend, or even build winning campaigns in minutes. And so we here just say copy them for yourself, right? So our end bullet point here is peek behind the curtain at our highest performing campaign structures so you can copy them for yourself. Again, link in the cards in the description to a full-blown copywriting guide. And of course, when you download this template, the copywriting frameworks are right here. You can just plug and play. So again, to save us some time, I'm going to grab some bullet points that are already pre-written, and I will go ahead and click enter to drop them in. Now, you'll notice here that they didn't come in properly, so I can click Control Shift V or Command Shift V, and then it's going to pull it in properly, and I'm actually going to have the bullets that I want. Now you'll see that it pulled it in all bold. I don't want that, so I'm going to unbold them. Something that you can do is you can bold specific parts of the bullet point to really call out the key roadblocks that are being broken, or call out the key results. So in this particular instance, I would go ahead and bold eliminate wasteful clicks, highest performing campaign structures, which is technically actually bolding a mechanism, but so you can copy them for yourself. Wouldn't really make sense if someone was just skimming through the bullet points. And then we'll say craft high converting ads. So we want them to make sense if someone is just quickly browsing through. And of course, for some reason, that guy didn't actually delete. All right, here we go. Now, if you want to make your bullets from scratch, we can come over here, click on the bulleted list. We'd go ahead and drop them in, and then we would select. Of course, first thing we'd do is change the font size. Maybe we want to make it 28. The line height changes the spacing in between the bullets. And then we also have a lot of symbols. Now, please don't go crazy with these, right? Systemi has a lot of symbols here, but only choose ones that would make sense and that aren't distracting from the main call to action of our page. So as an example, if we were a law firm, then it would make sense to use these, right? But some of these other symbols, like a Band-Aid, if we're not selling something related to medical or I guess fixing cuts and bruises, then it probably wouldn't make sense to have Band-Aids, and you might actually start hurting your conversions because people are looking and going, what is that? And actually, if this was related to medical, I probably wouldn't use those because it's not instantly recognizable. So I'll go ahead and delete that, and that completes the section for, of course, building interest. Now, creating some desire down here, or right below our headline, it would be a great opportunity to showcase media appearances we may have paid for in the past, or maybe or gotten organically, but most of them are paid. And then number 2, some customer testimonials. Now, if you have testimonials, you could come over here to blocks and click on testimonials and just drop in one. Actually, my personal favorite, I think, is, there we go, is this last one I use quite a bit. And so whether or not you have testimonials, we of course can always quote ourselves. And so if you don't have one, this is something that I literally just started doing because way back when I was first getting started, and even now, we publish a lot of things that no one has ever used before, or I just haven't made the time to collect testimonials. It's actually quite a process. So especially if you're trying to get a testimonial for something that someone got for free, they kind of go, why are you asking me for a testimonial? This was free. Why are you asking me to do work, right? So here's a quick and easy formula you can use to create your own self-quotes. And even though we're talking about ourselves, we're still going to loop it back around. I'll just do this. It makes no sense, but we'll loop it back around to our ideal customer. So it starts off with verb, aka the action that we took that was challenging for us until we started using mechanism, which is something in the lead magnet, or you could just say the lead magnet itself. This is a strategy, a framework, and then to power word, result. And so as an example, we have understanding Facebook metrics was challenging for me until we started microfiltering to drown out the noise and hone in on the few KPIs that actually drive sales. So in this particular instance, I'm talking about something that they're most likely struggling with, which is understanding Facebook metrics, which can be overwhelming if you're never looked in an ads account before, and then give a name to a process or a system or a way of thinking that allowed us to overcome that result. So I literally made this up. It's called microfiltering to drown out the noise and hone in on what they actually care about because they're overwhelmed. So we're going to help you not be overwhelmed. That's literally all we're saying here with just a little bit of persuasion and copywriting flair, if I do say so myself. So let's go ahead and actually complete our landing page. So again, I have this all set up. So I'll just go ahead and copy, drop that in here, and then I'll leave the name and title alone. Now for the image here, I just went ahead and used an image element. And this is a simple 2-column row. So you can go ahead and click. If you want to make your self bigger, or smaller. And for the image itself, if I go ahead and come to my library here, you'll see that we actually had to pre-format these as circles. So if I go ahead and select myself, this image itself, we already made it a circle, and you can easily do this inside of Canva for free. So I'll go ahead and delete this stock photo one, click OK, and we'd go ahead and leave it like that. We could always, of course, decrease the image size if we wanted, probably bring it down like that. We do want to make sure that the text is the feature, not necessarily putting a giant picture of ourselves. All right, so now we are one step away from being done with our landing page. Well, 1.25, but we'll get to the 0.25 in a moment. First, the fun part, the thing we've all been waiting for. Well, maybe you haven't been waiting for it, but it is the opt-in form. So if you go ahead and click on blocks and you go to opt-in forms, there are some that are already pre-formatted because this can get a little confusing, but we're going to go ahead and build it from scratch so you can see how this was put together. So the first thing I recommend doing is figuring out where you're going to put it and actually start with a row element. So I'm going to build this right on top of this other one. Then for the row element, I'm going to go ahead and select a background color. We're going to do a very ugly gray. Maybe we can make it a little less ugly. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the elements that I need in order to make an opt-in form. So for opt-in forms here, we need an input and we need a button. So first I'm going to click and drag the form input. And then when I click on the form input, I will go ahead and select the type. You can see there's all types here, and you can even do some custom stuff. But we are just going to stick with the email because that's all we need. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at email. And then the next thing I'm going to need is a button. So I'll go ahead and grab button. I will click and put it right under the element here. And when we click it, you'll see that we will have all sorts of options in terms of the call to action. You could have subtext. I don't like subtext for these types of buttons. And then, of course, we can change the background if we wanted. And then, of course, we'd go ahead and also we can play with the rounding of the corners and all sorts of stuff that you can play with, and you don't need to sit here watching me play with it, right? So all of you even have hover effects too. Like you could seriously spend an hour just playing with the button. And that's okay, because once you figure out what type of button you like, then you can save it and use it on all your other pages too. Just make sure that it is a color that stands out. So in this particular instance, I'm using blue in everything, and I made the button color a much brighter blue so it stands out. But this is probably about as close to as similar as you'd want to everything else on the page. Ideally, you'd want it to have it be some sort of orange, some sort of color that really stands out, except for red, because red universally means stop. So don't use that color, but any other color probably works just fine as long as it's legible. So the key here is if we click on the button, you'll see action when button is clicked. By default, it's selected submit form because this template the page type that we're using is a landing page. So this is where it becomes really important that we selected squeeze page as the page type. I know I say landing page, Systemi says squeeze page. They're the same thing. I think they should just change it to landing page, but here nor there, right? So this is why it's important that you choose the correct page type, because by submitting form, now Systemi knows that when someone hits submit, take all that information, ship it over to your email list, and that's a whole nother series of automations and things. And then, of course, the button will automatically put someone to the next step in your funnel process. And again, email is all we need for this. So that does it for the last real step. Now, step 2.5, I am not a lawyer. I'm not giving you legal advice at all, but I will say that when it comes to Facebook and Google and running any sort of paid advertising, you should go through their terms of service because they do require you to have some sort of disclaimers and even links to privacy policies and terms of service, and sometimes even more earnings disclaimers. So whatever they want you to have, that's what you need to make sure you have down here. So There may be different rules or regulations for your niche or industry, depending upon the subjects or things that you're talking about. So again, I'm not speaking to any sort of legal advice, but I do know as a marketer, when you start running paid advertising, Facebook and Google, they definitely want some legal jargon down here. So make sure you have that covered. And so with that is our landing page. I'll go ahead and delete this ugly thing. Okay. And then if you want to preview your wonderful design, all you have to do is click on this little eye here, and it will create a mock-up of your page. So this is what our landing page looks like. It actually wound up putting everything on on 2 lines here. Again, I would probably play with the text to try and get it to 3 so it's not so spaced out. But as you can see, we were able to put together a landing page that is ready to convert. And really, this simple design, just like you saw at the beginning, like these simple pages convert 40, 50, even 60% on organic traffic. And we have simple pages like these with some testimonials converting over 40% with Facebook ads. Now, when it comes to what happens next, we have 2 options. Option 1, we use a basic thank you page, direct people to check out their email. Option 2, which is a little more savvy and advanced, and is what our template is designed to do, and that is we immediately make an offer. But since that is a completely next step, let's go ahead and just make a simple thank you page for now. I'll go ahead and click on Add Step here. I'll give our step a name. I will select opt-in page or opt-in thank you page. This is important because, again, when you're selecting the types of pages here, it tells Systemi how to treat them and changes what functions that particular page has. And then, of course, we'll go ahead and click it and drag it right after our landing page. So when someone completes the contact form here, Systemi will automatically send them to this thank you page. And so I recommend choosing one of the really basic ones. They have quite a few options here. And of course, you can get fancy. But if we're going to get fancy, we might as well be making a paid offer. More on that in a second. I would go ahead and just select this template. And here's an example of all we need to do on this page. So of course, we'd have a picture of the lead magnet. We'd have our email address clearly nice and big and say, hey, check your inbox for an email from this email. And we need to signal to the internet service providers, whether they're using Gmail or anything else, Yahoo, Hotmail, or whatever else is out there, Proton Mail, that we're letting those internet service providers know that we're not spam and this particular person actually wants to receive emails from us. So getting them to open your first emails or getting them to open your first couple is going to be really important and actually affect your long-term deliverability, say that 5 times fast, rates with that particular person, right? And of course, that'll affect your deliverability overall as you send more and more emails via your broadcasts and of course, your sales sequences. Now, look, at this point, a simple page like this, it's going to work. It'll help our future email marketing, but honestly, it's kind of a wasted opportunity. Look, someone just opted into our email list. We know exactly the pain points and the results that they want. They don't want pain points. The pain points that they're dealing with and the results that they want because they just opted in for a lead magnet that promised to deliver a specific result and alleviate some roadblocks. So this is a perfect opportunity to make some sort of low-cost offer, $50 or less, like an impulse buy, and say, hey, if you like that lead magnet, I think you're going to like this offer too. And so this is an example of what the page could look like. You can check out the channel for a super deep dive guide on exactly how to build this page and help with copywriting as well. The key to this type of sales page versus other ones you may have seen is we use something called a bridge section. So at the very top, we essentially acknowledge that a lead magnet is on the way to their inbox. And while they're waiting for that lead magnet to hit their inbox, even though it's mostly instantaneous, but if you want to get fancy, you could do like a 10-minute delay, but I just send it automatically. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. At the very top here, you can see that we say, hey, your lead magnet's on the way. Check out this cool thing, right? Because it takes a couple minutes to check out a sales page. And if you're really dialing this in, you can get 1, 2, even 3% of people who just joined your email list to actually make this purchase. And so whichever page you choose between these two options, you really can't go wrong. But in the future, I highly recommend taking that extra step and making some sort of one-time offer. Again, lots more resources on the channel to do that. Again, link in the description to grab a copy of our landing page template along with all of our other funnel templates and that playbook to help you get up and running as quickly as possible. Phew, okay, that was a long one. So hopefully you are super confident now when it comes to what the heck to put on your landing page, some examples of what other landing pages could look like, and of course, copywriting for your landing page, which can sometimes be the hardest part, and a very simple template you can copy for yourself to start generating your own leads and hopefully leading to some sales. So make sure you check out that link in the description one more time to the free landing page template and playbook. Hit that like button, subscribe for more marketing guides just like this one, and until the next, keep building the business you love.